Good afternoon. Thanks so much for joining us today. Thank you for your patience as well as we got ourselves ready for this exciting info session today. So we have so much to cram in and jam in 30 minutes. So we are going to use your time as wisely as possible. So we're going to get right into our info session today about Integrative Health and Wellness Coaching Program at the University of Vermont. We'll do quick introductions and we will get into really the heart and soul of the conversation today. What is Integrative Health and Wellness at the University of Vermont? Look back a little bit as to how this program came to fruition, what it means here at UVM, the different types of ways that you can engage in our coaching certificates programs, and when are the opportunities for this amazing learning as well. And then what kinds of roles, is this a growing career opportunity? What credentials maybe do people seek to get into this field? So we'll dive into that a little bit more and have plenty of time for your questions throughout the presentation. The Q&A function in Zoom is where I'll keep an eye on those questions. Ask throughout the presentation. I'll keep an eye on those. We'll answer them as we go along, and then we'll have plenty of time at the end as well. And this is being recorded. So if you need to jump out or you want to share it with somebody, we will share the recording with everyone after the info session. Okay, let's get going. My name is Nicole DeWillier-Fenton. I work in our professional and continuing education department. And I have such good fortune of working with Susan Whitman, who leads our Integrative Health and Wellness Coaching Program, which is connected and it has lots of tentacles around UVM. It's housed in the Osher Center for Integrative Health at UVM and has a strong connection to the College of Nursing and Health Sciences as well. So happy to have Susan with us today. So on that note, I'm going to turn it over to Susan. What do we mean by integrative health and wellness? I feel like it's kind of a hot buzzword these days, which is a good thing. But what do we mean about that? And walk us through a little bit of the history of it here at UVM.
Yeah, thank you for asking that, because integrative medicine and integrative health is a concept that I think people understand and then don't understand, and that it gets confused in a lot of different ways. And a lot of people think, oh, integrative medicine, that just means that we're tacking on acupuncture or some sort of alternative therapy on top of conventional medicine. And yes, it's a yes and to that one. Integrative health has been growing since the late 40 years, really. It's been growing in popularity. And what this is I often think of integrative medicine as a lens through which we see everything. It's not another silo. So this isn't functional medicine or some other way of practicing medicine. This is more of an umbrella term for the way that you approach health and wellness. One thing I always like to think about with this one is that our modern medicine system, conventional medicine, is often pathogenic focused. It's focused on curing a disease once it's present. Yeah. Integrative medicine is much more of a salutogenic approach, which really means that we're trying to create environments where people can thrive and be well. And this involves conventional medicine. Yes, it involves complementary medicine, and integrative health involves complementary medicine that has science and evidence behind it. So it is involving some pieces of that. It's preventative medicine. It's all the things that we're doing to prevent things, such as getting your flu shots, doing those things, exercising, and it's involved self-care. And self-care is that big piece, which is sometimes the hardest part of all of these things to do. And that's where kind of health coaching comes into play a lot of the times, is helping people make those self-care behavior changes. So it's all of these things, plus having everything focused on the person. So it's person-centered care. So integrative health is really this wide umbrella of all of these things. At UVM, we are part of the Academic Consortium for Integrative Medicine and Health. I'm actually headed to their conference in April to help present some research that we've been doing in different fields of integrative medicine. And that is a large consortium of academic universities who all come together to help promote integrative medicine and health. And the idea really behind it is that we want to take away the idea that it's integrative medicine, and eventually this should be just what we call good medicine. Is the idea that we're taking taking care of this. This public health is a part of it. Everything is a part of it. I'm a little overwhelmed anyway. But on the next slide, I think we talk a little bit more about why we here at UVM have started this program. And this kind of goes back into my background as well. I was a physician assistant for 10 years and worked at the community health center and saw so many times that I would say to people, you know what, you have all these medications for high blood pressure and all of these other things. And I would say, here's your medication. And really, you know, what you should do is exercise a little bit more, eat a little bit better, maybe work on that stress in your life. Good luck with that. See you in 6 months. Bye-bye. And they'd come back 6 months later and nothing would have changed. And I kept saying, there's something that I'm missing in here. And so here, you know, that was my own personal journey to find health and wellness coaching. I took the Duke Integrative Health and Medicine program back in 2011, and I still teach and mentor with the program there. And UVM here decided that they wanted to have their own health and wellness coaching program here, because the missing piece between all the education and the amazing things that our providers can provide and the advice that they give and putting it into play. And that's where the health and wellness coaches really shine, is they are there to help people make lifestyle and behavior changes. So yeah, we started talking in about 2015, and it took us a few years to get nationally board certified, to have a program up and running. So our first cohort came in the fall of 2019. I actually taught my first course with it in January of 2020. We quickly pivoted to online a few months later. But we were seeing that when we started this program, there were 7, I believe, board certified health and wellness coaches in the state of Vermont. So there weren't a lot of coaches, number one, and the idea that there was no place to get trained anywhere around here. So that in 2017 was when the National Board for Health and Wellness Coaches was established. So that actually was a big push as well, to be able to say, hey, we actually have a national certification. People take an exam through the NBME, which is the National Board of Medical Education, same place that you might get your certification or test for to become a doctor, to become anything. So it's a validated exam, and this is a profession that is growing. Yeah.
And what I realized too that we need to add to the slide is the fact that 2 years ago this fall, we established the Osher Center for Integrative Health at UVM. So talk about the evolution of the commitment of the University of Vermont to integrative health and wellness. And now there's actually a physical building. There's so much educational components. There's practitioner network. This concept that started, the seed planted here in 2015 has grown, maybe even beyond what people originally imagined.
Vermont is a pretty amazing place to be, just because of the fact that we are such a small state that we can try things and we can do things different and really work together. Kara Feldman Hunt works with the Osher Center, and she knows all these different people in all these different areas and gets everyone to talk together. So we say, hey, we've got a great idea for how to work on value-based care. And the chronic comprehensive pain program that's part of the Osher Center is nationally recognized right now, and really a model for how we can incorporate health coaching and acupuncture and yoga and all of these into pain, everything. So, I love this slide too. We talk about all the different pieces. I went into health and wellness coaching thinking, you know what, I'm going to learn how to make exercise programs and diet plans. And I'm like, that's what health and wellness is all about. And I quickly realized that it's so much more than just your food and your exercise. Those are important pieces. But when we work with someone as a health and wellness coach, we check in to see how their food and their movement is going. But we also talk about stress management. We talk about work-life balance, environment, sleep, rest, relationships. The place where you live and work impacts your health and wellness, your relationships that you have, all of these pieces. So when I'm working with someone and they say, you know what, I want to work on losing weight and I'm going to do diet and exercise, we often come to the underlying idea that the reason that I'm eating poorly is that I'm so stressed and my relationships are not working the way that I want them to. And I'm not sleeping well. So, we help someone work through what is the root of this, because they're not going to be able to make a change unless they understand, kind of what the core of the issue really is with people.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for walking us through. We have so much more information to get to. I just want to pause for a minute because Astina just asked a quick question, and we're going to get into that more details as to the different ways you can engage with the program. But the short answer is yes, you can take this program and not live in Vermont. So we'll get more detailed in just a few minutes. There are some in-person, well, not in-person, live sessions where you're virtual together. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. But the quick answer is yes.
So yes, we have someone in Atlanta right now in our program.
Yes.
We have people from all over.
We welcome from wherever you are. We welcome you in the program. I always love, and I know you bring this and kind of help wheel up many times when I've spoken with you over the last several years. This to me, visual really communicates what we mean by health and wellness, because, from my perspective, seeing it isn't one or the other. It isn't just diet. It isn't just exercise. It isn't just rest. It's really how all of these things either are there, maybe there's a deficit, or there's, something that isn't working, or you're overdoing it on, because it's all connected. And I'm curious to our people joining us today, have you seen this, and is this resonating with you? I'd love to hear in the Q&A if you've seen this, or if this makes sense to you and this is something that you believe in as well. But Susan, is there a particular reason why this graphic has been so represented in our program?
Yeah, well, when we started our program, we looked at the wheel. There is called like a wellness wheel, or a wheel of health, or whatever, a self-assessment. There are versions of this all across the country in different areas. We adopted ours kind of from where we felt some of those highlights of things. And it's really a jumping off point. And I always wanted to say this is more of a web, because, environment is connected to your sleep, which is connected to how much movement you got the day before, which is connected to the relationships that you have with someone. So they're all connected of that. And we, I was talking about in integrative medicine, the person is at the core of this, because it's their decisions and their life. And as health and wellness coaches, I have no idea what the life of my client is like, and to be completely open to their experience and for movement for each person can be completely different. For one person, it's running a marathon. For the other one, it's walking across their house 3 times that day. So to have no preconceived notion of what these mean, but to be able to explore it with someone.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And Julianne has shared that she's a nurse, and so it resonates. And Michelle says, I've seen a version of this and can appreciate inclusiveness of all aspects of wellness as well. And Darian says, I'm a trained occupational therapist, not currently practicing, but familiar with the graphics, and it rocks. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective. And Jamie, we'll get to your question in just a minute, because we have lots to go over related to the different types of courses and how you can choose what's right for you. One of the things that I find is really interesting when thinking about, there's always a variety of options of learning opportunities today, right? There's free courses, there's LinkedIn Learning, there's trained credit courses, non-credit courses. Sometimes it can be a little overwhelming as to what am I trying to accomplish and what's going to get me there, right? But then the other question is, how does it fit into my life? And so one of the things that I think is amazing about our program, and many of the programs at the University of Vermont for professional and continuing ed, is flexible learning options, because there isn't one solution for everybody. And so what we'll go through in just a moment, we have online options that have some live sessions in them, but of course they're recorded. So if if you're in a different time zone, which has happened, or you have an obligation, it's okay. You'll still be able to have that learning opportunity. There's hybrid options as well. So maybe you want to come on campus for an immersion weekend, or you live close enough that you want to drive, or you are in the Burlington area and an on-campus option seems really interesting to you. So lots of different options for you. The thing that I also have always been really impressed with this program is the community and the mentorship and the connections and the continued learning. You're not done when you're finished with your program. There is continual learning opportunities, network opportunities, virtual, in-person, the practitioner network that you can join. So if you do want to become a health coach and kind of hang that shingle out, you have an outlet to be able to share with the world and for people to find you, to hire you as well. The other thing that's pretty amazing is that these program, no matter which path you choose in our program, if your intention is to take the exam, we've got pretty good success rates. 100% of our students have passed the exams. So there's a focus on getting you ready for that certification. The credibility from UVM, a research one institution. And Susan was just talking in the beginning about new research projects that Integrative Health team has been doing. So being a part of that, learning from that, and learning afterwards, when the research is being communicated and shared is amazing. The one thing that I'd love to hear as well is that specialization, Susan. Maybe share what are some areas that students could focus in on.
There are so many areas, Nicole, because what we do try to offer is that people who come through our coaching program are not just folks who want to independently be a health and wellness coach and hang a shingle. Yes, you can do that. And I think that the future of a lot of where we're going to find health and wellness coaches is embedded into primary care, is embedded into the clinical realm, is embedded into different, into organizations and those types of things, working with different types of populations. I have just started my PhD here at UVM as well. And I'm studying integrative health and really focusing on coaching. And another student that I'm working with are working with students with autism. And how do we have to change the coaching process to work with someone with autism? How do you change this coaching process when you're working in primary care? How do you change it when you're working in cardiology? So there are some classes that you can take at the university. That's the great thing about being connected to the university, is you can continue on, whether you take a non-credit or a credit version of the core classes. You can take further classes in an area of specialty, such as family wellness coaching, employee wellness, autism, different types of areas that we have there. And we don't leave our students afterwards hanging, because you do need to get more sessions after you're done to sit for the national board exam. We created our own practicum. We're one of the first places in the country to have a continued practicum class after you are done with the core classes, to help you continue on and get those, so you get continued mentoring and practice. And in terms of what you learn, this is really important, because I kind of thought I was going to come in and learn a lot about like education, but coaching is less about education. And you're not an expert in nutrition. You're not an expert in exercise or any of these areas. What you are an expert in is behavior change. So what you are learning in most of these classes is how to communicate, motivational interviewing, active listening, all the behavior change theories. We do also teach a process, and that process, we dive deep into that process. So it's not just, here's the script that you say, because there can't be a script, because every single person is different. We understand the whys, and we attach in all these theories to that. We have to learn some ethics and legal pieces. We do learn a very broad array. If you've never been in health and wellness field before, you want to know what osteoporosis is. You want to know what high blood pressure is. And those are required for a health and wellness coach, but really because people will be talking about it. You don't become an expert in these areas, but you become immersed in those, and so that you have a context for the people you're working with.
So much great information. So helpful. I wish every healthcare practitioner would take a health and wellness coach.
That's my goal too.
That's your goal. I know it. I knew that. I've heard that before. Hopefully this will answer some of the other questions Astina was asking and Jamie was asking as well. What's the difference, right? And we have 3 different options, really. And one of our colleagues, Eric, will put up a poll in just a minute. And so just as I'm explaining them, let us know where you're leaning. What are you thinking is the right fit for you? There's a non-credit program, which Jamie and Astina was thinking online. This is an opportunity for you to not be on campus. You're nowhere near Vermont. That's okay. Here we are offering an online program of non-credit as well. Really the shortened version, if you will. You can complete it in as few as 6 months and then be ready to sit for that exam. Maybe you're looking for some credits. Maybe there's a longer end goal here. As Susan was mentioning, she's now in the PhD program. Maybe there are some other goals here that you might have. And so an 8-credit program, hybrid, there's some online and on campus. And we'll talk a little bit more. What does the on-campus component look like? But a little bit longer, can be completed in 8 to 12 months. But maybe you're looking for that credit certification. Maybe you're looking for something that, again, leads to more learning, more certification. You've got it part of your educational journey. And so there is a 15-credit program that does provide an academic certificate. And again, kind of covers those other bases, a mix of online and on campus, and can be completed in that 8 to 12 months. So there is a poll up there. So I'd love for you to answer just where are you kind of leaning? What are you interested in? And then Susan, what is the on-campus? What does the hybrid component look like?
It's a great question because in our non-credit program is 100% online. So people, and that's usually offered later in the evenings. So more, and that is 100% professional students. It's people who are outside of the education. Our credit programs are usually a mix of undergraduate students, graduate students, and professionals. And in that 8 credit, those 8 credits that you take is over the course of 2 semesters. So depending upon when you start, that's that 8 to 12 months. It could be if you start in the fall, you're done by May or June at the 2nd semester. If you start in January, there's the summer off, and then you take the fall semester. And once you're done with that, we have been alternating. Some of those, our fall start was in person, actually 100% for the credit program. But at the same time, we were running the non-credit. We're basically, if you want it to happen, we'll figure out a way to make it happen. And our online credit program, I don't know if I'm making this even more confusing, but our online credit program starts and ends with an immersion day. And those immersion days in our credit program are often in person. And that is the only in-person element, is that start and that end. We do have plenty of people who have joined us virtually for those days as well. Yeah. So that is an option if you want to be in the credit program. It's a little bit more spread out. There are grades. There are graded assignments. There are assignments within the non-credit program as well, but you don't get a grade at the end. You don't get a transcript and those types of things. It's the exact same curriculum in both. The online non-credit version is a little bit more condensed and faster. So that is the one thing. It is a lot of work. It is something to think about, is that we do have weekly classes for 2.5 hours, and it is required for you to be at all of those classes. We do say 1 or 2 per semester, that if you need to miss, that you still would have to watch the video. There's outside of class reading. There is journals and study guides that you're working on. There is a lot of reading and videos that you're watching. There's demos. In the 2nd semester, you're coaching outside of the class time. So there's a lot of things that we're doing. It's pretty active. It's pretty intense. And we are doing that because we feel like that's the best way to get everyone the best education that they can.
And ready for that exam. I mean, yes. Clearly it's working.
Yes.
100% have passed. So it's clearly working. Jamie's already registered for the non-credit program. That's fantastic, Jamie. And one of the questions that I saw Nicole asked and Jamie asked as well is Upskill Vermont. So for our Vermont folks that may be here, if you're not aware of what Upskill is, there is a scholarship program that we offer through professional continuing ed called Upskill Vermont. You can look at lots more details at upskillvermont.org. And the quick answer to both your questions is yes, this does qualify for Upskill Vermont. And one of the things that I just want to clarify is the Upskill Vermont program. This is funding through the state. And we've tried to spread that out a little bit. We've had some condensed semesters where we've had the money allocated to students, and that really wasn't successful for people trying to take a class when we just turned on the registration and I need to sign up and be ready for a class in a month. And that's not always how working professionals that our schedules work. So we've spread out the funding. Luckily, we were able to do that this year via the state funding. And so what we've encouraged is people to take able to take a free course in each semester. So while I'm sharing that, we're talking about spring semester. These aren't separate courses. So if you are, Nicole, if you're interested in using the Upskill Vermont funding, you can apply for the Integrative Health and Wellness program. And so don't consider it two courses. You can use that for this course altogether. So if you are a Vermont resident, I highly recommend that you jump on there, fill out that Upskill application for this program, because the seats do go really quickly. And we only have a handful of seats left for this January start as well. I have no idea if we'll have Upskill funding again for the next academic calendar year. That's really up to the state legislature, and it's hard to know this far in advance. But looking forward, if this isn't something that you want to start in January, we will start again in the fall. And so the non-credit, Susan was sharing with me, it's estimated to start kind of late September 24. And then the credit program aligns with the academic calendar, which usually starts about that last Monday of August. Susan was mentioning, it's not just the course that you need to then qualify for the exam. And so here's just a few additional pieces that folks need to do to qualify for that exam. And then I just wanted to, just a quick overview. Susan and I were talking about this before we started this list. I bet many of you could add to this list today, because it's definitely not just people in healthcare as well. We were talking about one of our enrollment coaches has completed this program. So she works in education. We were talking about a web developer that has completed this program. So a lot of it is, maybe it's aligned with your work, but really, where are you coming from your own interest in this field? And we often see people outside of these roles joining our program as well. So there's a lot of information on this slide, and I know it might be kind of small. There's plenty of information on our website, which is learn.uvm.edu. So please peruse the Integrative Health and Wellness program pages. And you'll get lots of information in here, but that's kind of an overview of what we've been talking about today. I know we're almost at time, and I know we have lots of questions, so I just wanted to pause here for a moment and let me make sure that I got seeing.
I'll jump in, because I think there's often a lot of confusion between, do I take the credit one? Do I take the non-credit one? That the non-credit version is, as I'm saying, the same class. It's all professionals, and it goes at a little bit of a quicker pace. And so depending upon whether or not you want to do either one, I mean, if you were going to go on the January start and you wanted to get it done by June, you're going to want the non-credit version. The credit version, you'll start in January and you won't finish until December. So it's a little bit more spread out. How much time do you have? Do you really want to devote the next 24 weeks to this program? Or do you want to spread it out and have a little bit more time to absorb and soak it in? Either is fine. So you can do the credit program 100% online, Kimberly. If you're living in California, we can Zoom you in for those immersion weekends without a problem at all. So you could still do the credit version online, and we can get you in there. So
Right.
in terms of Vermonters registering online or hybrid, really they're all online. So that the hybrid really just means that credit program starts and ends with an in-person immersion, but we can Zoom people in. So as a Vermonter, it's totally up to you what fits with your schedule.
Yeah.
You'll find that the credit programs usually are later in the evening, 6 to 8:30. The non-credit is 6 to 8:30. The credit runs from 4 to 7.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit earlier in the day too.
And I wanted to address Elizabeth's question. The upskill funding is not based on financial need or scholarship. You need to be a resident of Vermont. And so I highly recommend that if you're a resident of Vermont, and you haven't signed up for an upskill course already for this next semester, please jump in and apply, because they go very quickly. And to that point as well, Michelle was also asking, immersion date weekends already set. Do you know if they are for
I
this?
was just looking, I was asking if she was saying for the non-credit version. I believe it's on the website, what the day is for the end.
I don't know that I've seen it on there, but you know what, Michelle, another thing too is to chat on our website. The chat functionality pops up. It's real people. It's our enrollment team answering those questions. And so we'll double check and see if those dates are on the program page. You can always ask. They will find the answer, and we can send that information in the follow-up as well. Good. So, Julianne also said, good luck with your PhD. She just finished hers in 2021.
Oh, it'll be like 7 years, but all good.
It just takes a little perseverance, right? It's the marathon, not a sprint. So I think I'm hoping we've answered all your questions today. I know there's a lot of nuances to these different programs as well, and different options. But as I mentioned, please, if you're a Vermont resident and you're interested in taking the spring, which is starting, I don't want to think about January yet, but it is starting fairly soon. I highly recommend you jump into upskillvermont.org and apply for the scholarship for this program. And if you're interested in this program in general, please do register or maybe reach out to us and email. I have no doubt Susan is willing to have a call, have an email to answer any additional questions that you may have about the program. As Susan was also saying, and I know we're a little over time, but this is a lot of work, right? There's a lot to this. And we definitely find some students kind of come in and say, oh my goodness, I wasn't really prepared for all this. Susan, what advice might you give to a student who's thinking about coming into this program?
Make sure that there is some time in your schedule, that you can be able to block that off. And I think we suggest that it's going to be about 8 to 10 hours a week of work, 8 to 10 hours a week, of work. So there is some just ready, because we create a cohort of people. There are going to be 25 to 30 people in this cohort. You get to know them really well, and we all work together. And it is a commitment. So we want to make sure that people are ready for that. And it's really exciting, I think, to be a part of a university who is not just pumping out health coaches that then go out into the world. I've created a coaching collaborative where we meet once a month, anyone who's graduated from our program. We have Facebook and LinkedIn profiles, but we do a lot of networking together and learning and growing to continue to mentor people. I did find the spring cohort that starts in January. Our last immersion day is January 29th. The first immersion day is January 20th.
Awesome. Great.
Or June 29th. Did I say June 29th is the end?
Is the end, June. Okay, that sounds great. Wow, we packed a lot of information into this 35 minutes. Thank you, everybody who asked wonderful questions and just your feedback and your thoughts on integrative health and wellness. Thank you, Susan, as always, for just sharing so much great information and being such a mentor for all people who are interested in really changing the healthcare system. So we appreciate everyone here. We'll share the recording, some of these bits and pieces that people have been asking, and please do reach out to us at learn.uvm.edu if you have additional questions, and check out that Integrative Health and Wellness Coaching Program website, the program pages, for more information. And we hope to see you in our program in January. Have a great afternoon.